this was from God.
Exactly,
So
mutually exclusive.
right, so mutually exclusive. But
Exclusive.
you are linking this to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Linking it.
Yes, of course. The reason why you reject Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because there was no mass revelation.
No, because there was mass revelation, and because Muhammad contradicted the
Right.
mass
So
revelation.
the claim of Moses to be a prophet of God is completely different to the claim that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes. It's a different.
Yeah, it's a different type of claim.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is these are both mutually exclusive.
No, but hold on, even better.
Because
You're using a mass revelation against Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes.
Is that the reason why he's a false prophet?
Yeah, because it contradicts the Torah, and we believe the Torah because of mass revelation. So yes.
Where is that criteria?
Where is the criteria in
That criteria, where is it in the Old Testament?
in logic? It's
No.
in logic.
No. This is what you do. No.
I did it before, and you didn't like it then, and I'm doing it again,
You
and
are
you
a
still
Jew,
don't like
correct?
it.
Are you a Jew?
I am. Are you a
Okay.
Muslim?
Alhamdulillah, I am.
Well, there we go. Baruch Hashem. Now we know who we are. So I don't know why we're asking.
Joshua, are you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you go by what the text says before logic?
We have to use both. We have to
I
use
didn't
the
ask
text and logic. There's no before.
No.
There is no before.
No.
We have to use both.
Joshua, I asked you the question.
I know, and I answered you.
No. Do you go by what the text say before logic?
I already answered your question. You didn't accept my answer,
Let's say-
and you didn't argue with my answer.
Okay, so
I'm going to restate it again.
Okay, go on.
Both.
Okay, so let's say the text doesn't make sense. Logically speaking,
Yes.
would you still believe it?
Well, we'd have to go to the oral Torah to understand
Not
it.
the Old Torah. Why? If it doesn't logically make sense, why do you believe it in the text?
Because of mass revelation.
So there you go. So you have to prove to me from the text there has to be mass revelation for it to be a true prophet.
Oh, that's
No,
true.
I
That's
don't,
good.
because the reason I
No, but
believe
that's
the
what
text-
you're asserting.
No,
Wallahi,
that's not what
Josh.
I'm asserting. No, you've misunderstood.
Josh, you've
misunderstood my assertion.
Okay, so what did you say?
My assertion is the reason I believe in a text to begin with is because there was a mass revelation.
And I asked you, is that a necessary criteria?
To believe in the text.
No, the mass revelation.
So hold on. The criteria
Yes.
to believe in the text is mass revelation.
Is that your criteria?
Yes.
And is that supported by the text?
Supported in what do you mean supported?
If somebody comes and claims to be a prophet,
Yes.
right, and there was no mass revelation,
Yes.
is he considered to be a false prophet, according to you?
It depends if he contradicts the Torah.
Okay, so now you don't have an issue with mass revelation. You have an issue with the fact that Muhammad said was contradicting the Torah. Right?
I don't know how long we've been arguing for,
Okay,
but
sure.
when we started, we had exactly this exchange, and people watching.
But you are not backing. Hang on, you are not backing your claim.
Because I already answered this. I'm going to have to. Okay,
No,
let's
hang
do
on,
this
hang on.
again,
You-
shall
you-
we?
no.
Let's start again. Going all the way back from the beginning.
Josh,
That's what we've done here.
You said,
it's amazing.
Josh, you said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a false prophet because one, there was no mass revelation, and number two, he contradicts the Torah. Am I correct?
I said he's a false prophet because he contradicts the Torah. That was the reason I said.
And you gave an example from the story of Joseph. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fine. But the brother here, Hamza, shown you that there's even internal contradictions in the Torah.
And I already explained that don't strawman Judaism because we have an oral Torah which explains the written.
You can't accuse us of straw man argument unless you provide your own case.
Not true, because the same way I would not expect you to have memorized all the hadiths, you should not have expected me to memorize all of the Torah Shabbat.
Yeah, but if there are internal contradictions, if there are internal contradictions, then we don't have to then go by your criteria.
Exactly.
Because if there's internal contradictions and you need oral explanation, the oral Torah to explain what's in here, then I'm sorry to say we don't have to use your own criteria. This is the reason why I was actually going directly to the Quran itself rather than using the criteria you have, because we know that there's contradictions which you have affirmed. In fact, last week you affirmed that there's contradictions in the Torah, and that you have to use external sources to explain the verses that you think that is contradictory. So therefore, that's the reason why, as a Muslim, we don't have to use your criteria because there's contradictions in it anyway.
You wouldn't use our criteria even if you wouldn't use our criteria anyway, and the reason you won't is not because you don't think it makes sense. It's instead because the Quran tells you that our Torah is corrupt.
No, but it does. No, but it both. No, but it.
That's the reason.
No, but it's both.
Don't play games with me. Don't say that if the Quran had not said it's corrupt, that you would have come up with this all by yourself.
No, even if there was no Quran and we just examined it just by looking at it and then scrutinized it carefully, we will find contradictions in it, without the Quran or with the Quran.
That's
We don't-
true.
Thank you. So what I'm saying to you, right, is that
But what are you going to then do with the contradictions? That's the question.
No, but-
what's the premise? Is the premise that there would never be a contradiction in this book, and therefore if I find one, then that disqualifies the
Well,
whole
I
book?
am asserting-
Or is the premise a different premise, which is that God deliberately put contradictions here, and He also gave us the oral explanations of how to work out how to resolve them in order to learn X, Y, and Z from it.
I believe that the Torah was corrupted by mankind,
Yes,
right?
but you believe that because of the Quran. You've just gone back.
So
We're
hold on a minute.
talking about the timeline that you just allowed us to go into, in which there's no Quran.
No, but hold
so
on
don't
one
go
second.
back to the Quran on me, because that's not going to help you.
No, hold on, I'm not going to the Quran. I'm
You
going
are.
to
You're
your
talking
own.
about corruption.
No, I am talking about corruption, but what I'm saying to you, for example, when it says that God rested and was refreshed, right? Sorry, I have to use this example, and I know you don't like it, but I have to use this example because you believe that it's the innate word of God. But
Yes.
you affirmed this week, last week, and the week before that the Torah has contradictions inside of it, right? So if it has contradictions inside of it, then I would then assert. So even if I was just, for argument's sake, let's say I wasn't a Muslim. Let's say I just looked at it from the lenses of someone who diacritically looks at holy scriptures. Just by looking at the the Torah and examining it carefully, I can then argue it's not the word of God because of these contradictions, right?
Of course, you could argue it.
Exactly.
The question is, does your argument hold weight?
Absolutely, it holds weight.
Absolutely.
And the reason why it holds weight, is because even the Quran itself gives a criteria. The Quran says, if this book, meaning the Quran, was other than the Creator, truly within it, ikhtilafan kathira, that you'll find a lot of contradictions, discrepancies, etc. Right? So that's the falsification test the
Going
Quran
back to the
gives.
Quran, though.
No. Listen carefully. The reason why I went back to the Quran, because then we can make the assessment on your book.
But
If
why are
it
you using that assessment if you only got that from the Quran? When we're talking about an argument in which there is no Quran. That's
hang on,
the
hang
argument
on,
we're
Josh.
currently inside
Hang on,
right
Josh,
now.
hold on one
Don't
second.
go
Sorry,
outside of this framework.
Josh, hang on. So
You're
now
going into a different framework.
hang on.
That's not how this works.
Josh. That's exactly what we're trying to do, which is you're doing exactly the same thing that we're doing to you. You're using your own Torah to falsify Muhammad's claim. So why do you have an issue? So
no,
why,
that's not what I'm. No,
exactly.
no, it's not.
You did.
No, you're not following the argument that we're having. We've been through this.
just did that.
No, because when you said that we're going to do two frameworks, right, where we're going to talk about, let's assume the mass revelation did not happen. I was very, very clear every time I spoke that I was talking within that timeline, within that framework.
No, you
I
misunderstood
was
my
very
point.
clear.
No, you say Muhammad is a false prophet because he did not meet the criteria in the Torah, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
I said that if there had not
Okay,
been a
is-
Torah, I would be agnostic about it.
Isn't that circular reasoning?
No, it's not.
Of course it is. So why do you have an issue when Hamza is talking about the Quran and the falsification test that's within the Quran?
I don't have an issue per se until Hamza said, now we're going to assume there's no Quran.
No,
he never
brother.
said that.
No,
He
hold on. Let me clarify.
He said, even if there was no Quran, I would still, because X, Y, and Z.
No, hold on.
And then he brought the Quran in
No,
order
even
to...
if it's not
that's
a Muslim.
bad argumentation.
No, he said even
Wait.
if I'm not a Muslim,
Yeah,
I would
which
inquire
means,
into it.
and why would you not be a Muslim when you obviously believe in the Quran just by looking at it?
No, listen.
So the only reason you'd not be a Muslim is because there's no Quran.
Right. Okay, Dr. Maurice Bukel, right? I'm going to give you an example, right? Because maybe using me as an example, you may think it's a bad example because I'm a Muslim. So let's use someone who wasn't a Muslim.
Okay.
Dr. Maurice Bukel wasn't a Muslim.
Yeah.
He examined the Torah
Yes.
and he saw that it was full of contradictions.
Yeah.
He saw that it was full of errors,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
Right? Now, the reason why I was going back to the Quran, right? Because I feel that the Quran uses an excellent criteria to determine if it is from God or not. And when I examine the Quran, for example, when the Quran says, right, that if this book came from other than the Creator, truly within it, you will find many discrepancies. God, I've got so many of them. Now it says truly within
You're
it.
going to fall over eventually.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it will all fall over. Now, it says truly within it, you will find.
I've got one, but eventually there'll be so many that on him he's going to fall over because of the weight.
I think
It's
so.
just, if you put lots on me, I'll also fall over.
You're on the hot seat. Don't worry.
Okay.
You'll bury me in microphones.
So anyway, as I was saying to you, like, the Quran says, right, if it came from other than the Creator, you will find discrepancies.
Okay.
Right? So, as someone who's looking into the Quran and looking at this verse, I feel that I don't see the harm in applying that same criteria to the Bible, because you believe, right, that the Bible is the word of God. You believe it doesn't have no mistakes, you believe there's no errors, etc. So if it's from God, then truly within it you shall not find discrepancies, just like the Quran makes that
There's a
claim.
difference between discrepancies and mistakes. Because you're going to have purposeful discrepancies, you're going to have mistaken discrepancies. And that's the issue. In Judaism, we don't believe that the discrepancies you'll find are mistaken. We believe they are purposeful and they're explained in the Oral Torah. That's what we believe.
Okay, well, I would dispute that because I brought up to you in Genesis chapter 1 where there were errors, right? And of course, listen, hear me out. I know
Errors
the Oral
means
Torah.
mistaken. That errors means mistaken. That doesn't
Hang
dispute
on,
what
even
I'm
for the sake
saying.
of argument, no problem. Even for the sake of argument, you say it's a mistake.
No, if I'm saying it's a
Why-
purposeful discrepancy.
Okay, so,
that God put it there on purpose.
Okay,
So why would God fool people then?
Exactly.
No, because God's not fooling people, because God gave us not only something written, but something oral as well.
Does God make mistakes?
No, that's what I just said.
No problem.
I
So-
literally just said. Are you listening to a word I'm saying?
No, I did. So
What did I say? What's the nuance I'm making at this
you
point?
say that there's a difference between contradiction and mistakes, correct?
No, I'm saying that there's a difference between mistaken discrepancies and purposeful discrepancies.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that the Oral Torah is the explanation to these discrepancies.
Yes.
Right.
And these discrepancies are there on purpose, not as mistakes.
Right, I still will charge you that it's still something that is still, in my opinion, I'll call it an error, irrespective of the Oral Torah.
Okay.
Now, I get the fact that you have the Oral Torah that explains this.
Yes.
However, you still have to explain to me, right, when God says in Genesis chapter 1 that He's created light on the first day, right, and He created a source of light on the fourth day, give me an evidence from the Oral Torah to explain this discrepancy.
Why do I need to do that?
Right. The reason why you need to do that, right, is because you said earlier, right, that in order to explain these discrepancies, you have to go to the Oral Torah.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking you right now, can you explain to me from the Oral Torah this problematic contradiction?
Thank you.
Right now, no, because I'm not an encyclopedia. I already said this.
Okay.
I've not memorized all of the Oral Torah by heart.
No problem,
I
but would
know.
you look into it?
I know a tiny fraction of what there is to know within the Oral Torah,
Yeah.
and I would assume. I'm lowering expectations here. I would assume that you also have memorized a tiny bit of the Hadiths. Yes.
Okay, so would you be willing to inquire into that
Sure.
issue? Okay,
Sure.
no
Why not?
problem.
That's a
That's
good
it.
question.
We leave it at that.
We leave it at that. We leave it at
Inshallah.
that. Okay then, I've got to go. I've got to pray.
We agree to disagree.
We agree to disagree.
We agree to disagree.
Truth will prevail.
Yes, it will.
Lovely speaking to you. All right. Jazakallah khair. All we can say, may Allah guide Josh, inshallah. Ameen.
Yeah.
Right, I've got so many spiders on me, I don't know which one to take off.